This game was a tough watch overall. There was lots of stoppages. There was weird hip drop decisions. There's a lot going on in this one, but really the main issue here was just the scoring from a couple of these top players. Obviously, trading out Haas a couple of weeks ago, it worked out. It did for those 2 weeks, and this week it has not. So for those that held on to him, I think there's still like closer to 50% that did hold on to him over the last couple of weeks. What I will say though is him and Walshy, there was 3% of the top 1,000, so 30 people, that traded out Haas this week, and there was just a tad over one, I think 1.1%, 11 people out of the top 1,000 traded out Walsh this week. So, still people in those good positions are able to make false decisions, especially this week too. It was obviously, I understand the reasoning for Haas and trying to use his cash with the higher break even when you're going to trade him out in round 13 anyway. But this was very, very high likelihood that he would get, I would think, around the 70 mark, because he's been, the top score this year was the high 70s, but it went for his highest score of the year, and he was incredible. Not one negative. He is just amazing to watch. Walshy, 69. And up at 70, guys. So these aren't updated on the fantasy app. So Haas 86, Walsh 70, Carrigan down to 55, I believe. Grant up to 55 there. Munster's 52. Eli Katoa 55. Warbrick down to 44. So that's that. Husey, I can't remember, but not really hardly owned. But Walshy, this game, hey? A few things went his way, that's for sure. Like, congrats if you own him for starters. The People Squad have Haas, Walsh, and Grant, so very, very happy there. I don't have any of those guys, but Walshy just kick off this game. I think Storm had the ball first, kicked it down to Walsh. I was like, all right, let's just keep Walsh intact tonight, and then just goes off the left foot straight through the two boys there on the right hand side, and kicked off his start to the game. That's for sure. Ended up with a couple of tackle breaks in there, and then he ended up with that try saver turnover tackle, which probably in other worlds could have been a sin bin. So the turnaround on that is wild. You get 10 points for the tackle, try saver turnover tackle from a shoulder charge. Yeah, I don't know. He had that one, and then Carrigan probably shouldn't have been sin bin for his. So yeah, I don't know what was happening in this game, to be honest with you. That was just wild. And he was on 40 in 20 minutes. So to be honest, in the end up, I think it was like 55, 57 with a couple of minutes left. And then they're like, all right, let's try and do everything we can. And Walshy and Haas got about 10 points in that sort of one play on each of them there. So that was frustrating to watch for sure. But yeah, well done to anyone with Walsh. And it kind of all went his way. They had Xavier Coates offside by like a couple of centimetres. And then, Walsh knocks it on. And then they call it back, and then he doesn't end up getting the knock on. There was that. There's Reynolds going down, which made him kick more. There's so much in this game that worked out great. And Reynolds should likely be out next week, so Walsh will kick a little bit more, I would say, as well, just using that left boot of his. So, and kick goals. Forgot about that. So kicked in general play and kick goals. So a wild game for anyone who owns Walsh, and well done to you. Firstly, this game could have been really, really bad for me as a watcher, but to have one of my favourite players this year, especially, Big Trent, what a man. He got up to 47, thankfully. They did miss one of his tackle breaks and one of his runs, which got him over 80 metres there. But how good has he been this year? He gets up to about a 47 average for the season and has made more than 225k. You get up to about 240 after this week, another 15 or so with that 47. And especially the last sort of six or so weeks, he's been awesome. Hasn't been as good as Tanner Boyd, but yeah, Big Trent Liora, the great man. My love affair for him is much higher than it is for Ben Murdoch, the Cashman Masilla. But yeah, just very happy with his output. The 47. It's an interesting one with him because do you hold on through the bye period because he plays 14, 16, 17? Or do you try and move on over the next couple of weeks in 13? He's still a pod. Hey, it's been crazy that someone like him who's made this much cash and continues to has been sold so much or was never really hardly owned. He was one of those guys, obviously. It was him. It was Eli Katoa. Which one did you select in your side? And it was Eli Katoa and the Aura's been moved on from, which is hilarious because he is averaging more than Eli Katoa. Yes, he had his down game when he got injured, but other than that, like Trent's still averaging more than him, which is crazy. So yeah, very happy with his output. It just just launches a bloke. So he's one of those guys that you're scary to watch. He launches around the legs of people, and then he kind of he's getting dragged holding on by one hand to their shorts or to an ankle or something like that. So he's scary, and then he makes a tackle. Like, good man, Trent. Good on you. So yeah, one of my favourite Trents in the world. There you go. Carrigan. So he went down a little bit. Obviously, the sin bin hurt him, but big minutes with Reynolds going off. Big minutes for Haas, big minutes for Flegler as well. So I'll speak about him in a sec. We had him as a potential buy this week, and he did everything right until his sin bin. So thankfully, he doesn't go up too much in price for those that are potentially looking at him. And I doubt that the minutes, all of these guys are going to be this high. This week, they wanted you'd expect that they were going to play big minutes. I thought Haas would get about that 65 compared to last week if it was going to be close, and it was for the majority of this game. And Carrigan would have played the 80 if it wasn't for that sin bin. So I love how it says he's played 72 minutes when he got sin binned. Sure, however that works. But anyway, yeah. So he went solidly, guys. If you're still owning him, then yeah, probably a sell in a couple of weeks. Hughesy, he was solid. Grant, so 55 for him. Did a fair bit in this game. He ran the ball a lot more than last week, but happened to drop, pretty much score the same as he did last week. 55, yeah, that's right, 55 for him, 50 for Haas. So I was hoping 55 from both of them. We got it from one of them anyway. But a try assist in this one, 2 offloads, 117 meters, and still only 55. Very, very frustrating for owners. He will continue to lose a little bit of money with that 55. So it's okay, guys. I understand why you would look to move him on in 13, but he still is that best hooker. The hookers are just suck at the moment. It's Tanner Boyd or bust, and that's it. Eli Katoa, the 55. There's still a few people owned him. A few people sold him that still had him in the top 1,000 as well. Yeah, that was that, of course. That's when he comes out and gets the good one. You had Munster with his good one. Okay, to be honest, I should say 52. He did have 2 line breaks and a try. The 8 missed tackles just seems to kill him on a semi-regular basis. Warbrick with the 44. He was good. He could have had a third and probably should have had a third. I think Mick Guinness called him for his hat-trick and then realised that they pulled that one back for the couple of centimetres. That was a terrific send over to that right side after the drop from Walshy there. Spoke about the Oro. We got flags, so 42 I think he ended up with the 66 minutes, and that included the sin bin as well. So 2 missed tackles for him, surprisingly no tackle breaks or offloads, and very surprisingly the way he comes out of the line, that he doesn't just bump off players for the majority of the time. He seems to hit and stick. And yeah, there's a few calls for him last night to play Origin as well. So I don't think any one of our players are safe at the moment. All of the guys we're looking at, Jack de Belin has a good game or two, and everyone's like, oh, he could be back in Origin. Like, okay. He's had he played a little bit last year, and he's had 3 or 4 good games this year. It's like same with Horsburgh. He's played 3 or 4 good games in a row. It's like, oh, he could be in Origin. Same with Flegler. Oh, yeah, he could be in Origin. Like, it's going to happen up until we find out team list in round 13. And it's like, oh my God, this guy missed out. This guy. And it's like all guys you thought were definitely going to make it, they all missed out. So, yeah, Flegs there. He was at, 45, 46 when he got the sin bin, and that ended his night. So, probably would have played over 70 minutes, which is just crazy. And I don't expect that going forward, but they were definitely trying to play their big dogs as much as possible to try and win this game. And, Carrigan stayed on the whole time. And how it worked with Walters and Pakes is they still just split the time. So it just meant that all of the forwards just played bigger minutes with Reynolds out. So don't expect it next week, but that's that. King ended up at like 48 or something like that. That was crazy. They missed 6 tackles from him. I think they missed a tackle break and another extra 10 meters or something like that. It was crazy. The extra points that he ended up with. Welch ended up with 41 as well, gave him an extra tackle break for that one where if you owned him, it'd be so frustrating. I do own him in Supercoach. Very frustrating. It's like getting right near the end and he just held, pops out the pass. So it's like, come on. Yeah. That's that. Stagsy, a better game from him. Ezra Mam had to do a little bit more, but still only a 38. And then going down the line, Kamakamika, return game from him. Let's talk about Nelson while we're here. 24 minutes in this one, just had a bit of a shocker, to be honest with you. It was rib injury into calf injury. Again, I'm not sure what you guys think of the Carrigan one. It didn't look like he came down on his legs. He was off to the side. It was obviously the sweeping motion with the legs that got him in trouble. I still just think with those ones, it's like, it should just be a penalty. Put him on report, make your decision afterwards. And like, he's not even going to get, he'd be lucky to get a fine, won't he? God, it just changes the game. And I understand like why Broncos fans would be annoyed in this one, and why fans in general are annoyed by a lot of this. It's very frustrating how it all plays out. And still, the introduction of a 5-minute, like, Flegs and who else got done? Flegs and whoever else went off. Who was it? Penne? Yeah. Flegs and Penne, just get them off 5 minutes. Piss off. Get out of my face for 5 minutes. Get off the field and then come back. Like, most of these sin bins should just be 5. Just a timeout. Just put them in the timeout in the naughty corner, and then you can get them back a bit later. Like, that 10 minutes is just wild. If it's a really bad one, you have 5, a 10, and you have a send-off. Like, just have the 3 options. Like, why does it have to be, it's very close to it's a penalty, or it's a sin bin? Penalty doesn't change the game too much. A sin bin literally changes the game. So, 5. Take them off for 5 minutes. It's only a few sets. Like, I think that's fair. Like, what are they doing? Is it like touch footy or something like that, where they... Yeah, Oztag touch footy, where they just go, yep, you're off, send at the back of the in goal for like 2 sets or a set or whatever they do. I'm not sure. I haven't played enough of it. But yeah, do that, and then you're back on, and you just run straight back on. Like, yeah, just right. You run back to your end, and then you just come back on. Wild. They got to fix this shit because it's not good enough. Farnworth, 33. Yeah, average. I don't know. It's been weird. Hey, what's happening with him? We obviously had the sin bin as well, and missed out on 7. But why is this 7 minutes? It's meant to be 10 minutes. Anyway, he's played 70 minutes, not 73. But yeah, that obviously hurt him a little bit. Neg 7, so he would have been on 40. He did pick up a try, a penalty try as well. So Grant got a little bit lucky with that one, but I understand why they did give it a penalty try, I suppose. But again, that could have been a sin bin as well. So it was like within 20 minutes, it was like the Walshy potential like shoulder charge penalty. He ends up like or sin bin, so -12 or -17 on his score. And then the Harry Grant one, which could have been a sin bin, a professional foul rather than a penalty try, whichever way they deemed it, and they deemed it to be penalty try, which helped Farnworth on that one. So what about Reynolds? Doesn't even get the try for that. He knocks himself out, and he still doesn't get a try for it. That's a bit rude, isn't it? Yeah, so that's the other thing, guys. I can't really complain too much about this game. Yes, I missed out on a bunch of these guys, but not having Reynolds was obviously the big one. So likely he's out next week, and he's one of those guys you want in your side to be able to play all the way through the bye period, or especially all the way through to 16, and that's just not going to happen now. I imagine people will go, I don't want to hold him through the entirety of the time just because he is out. He's likely going to be out next week, so he's very frustrating on that one. He was obviously doing fine in his time out there, kicking the ball. I can't believe they didn't even... How do you get injured? How do you get a head knock? And they still give you 119 meters. They can't, 29 meters, can't even get that one extra to get the one more point. Now that's rude. I'm not sure. I can't remember in the updates if he actually got that or not. But yeah, that'd be frustrating if they only gave him the 119. Actually, yeah, Nelson was one we're going to speak about. So if you did trade him in 2 weeks ago, you've got a 40 and a 12. It's very frustrating. And this is the stuff that happens. I suppose that's why you look at guys like Jaden Sewer as a potential buy this week, and you go, he hasn't really done this. Red flag. Is that a red flag at all? He's gone 4 out of the last 5 games, he's gone in the low to mid 50s, and he has never had that consistency before. Nelson, one of those guys that can go 50 and then go 30, 30, 40. You know what I mean? If you look at the stats there, that's how it happens for him, and it could happen for those other guys. So just be aware of that. Obviously, Flegler was one of those guys that's going to be a little bit up and down tonight. Last night was an up game, and you're looking at Totola, and he's obviously been up and down at the moment, but he's showed some consistency, so maybe that's a better option for you. Guys like Lukey is a little bit more up and down, so you got to take the good with the bad, and really overall here, that's just probably the nature of what I wanted to get at in that section there. Is just that it can happen to the best of them. Nick Meaney had been averaging really well. In the last 2 weeks, he has been pretty poor in terms of his fantasy scoring. Okay on the field, but you're not really noticing him like you were in recent times. So yeah, that's all I want to say on the Nelson one. It's frustrating, and those injuries, that's probably the main thing. He came into last game, got the injury in the ribs, and then it's played up again. So very similar to what happened with Smithy and why he was a sell, and then he's obviously recovered and he becomes a buy again. So if Nelson gets down below 600k, then he might be able to go on a bit of a run after round 13. That's something that could happen, but if you picked him up now, it's completely frustrating. So that's that video, guys. The Thursday wrap up. I hope that that helped you. If you got a little bit of a laugh out of it, I appreciate that. But jump in the comments, let me know how you went in that game and who you've got tonight. So good luck, guys.